welcome to this week's live weekly warm-up exercise. This week we are going to be sticking with the chromatic scale a bit and doing some different chromatic scale exercises that I think will be really helpful. But remember, for these weekly live warm-ups, even if you aren't watching it live, you're welcome to comment with any questions that you might have. And if these are helpful, I would love any feedback that you have about things that you've enjoyed about this, and if you've been getting any benefit in your playing by incorporating these exercises into your weekly warm-up. So without further ado, let's get into the chromatic scale exercise for this week. So this is going to be another sort of technique warm-up. It'll fall into the category of technique for our three-step warm-ups. And for this, it's going to be what I call like chromatic scale chunks. So it's a really great way to practice some of the like maybe specific areas of the chromatic scale or through the clarinet that you struggle with. So for me personally, the pinky keys are a little challenging, and I think for most people it's a little bit tricky because with these pinkies you really have to be moving your fingers around a lot rather than all of the other notes. You can just sort of stay in position right over the holes, but with the pinkies you actually have to change the position of your pinkies depending on how you're playing. So that can be a little bit of a challenge. Another area in the chromatic scale that can tend to be tricky is through these like throat tones, where again you have to really change the positions of your fingers, and also in the altissimo, where these are just more uncomfortable notes in general for most people, just because it's these higher notes that we don't play as frequently depending what skill level you're at, and they're just more unique fingerings, and there's tons of fingering options up there too, so you can really experiment with a bunch of different ones. So this chromatic scale chunks exercise that I'm going to talk about is super beneficial for honing in on these like specific areas of the instrument that might be a little bit more challenging than others, and really getting it really comfortable in your fingers. So the way this exercise works is you basically just pick an area of the scale that you want to work on and do different chunks of notes. So instead of playing like the whole chromatic scale like we did last week, you just narrow in and pick a rhythm, and that'll sort of determine how big your chunk is. So let me explain. We'll do maybe quarter notes to start, and that'll just be alternating between two notes. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, back and forth. Excellent for getting, again, all of these small finger coordinations really confident, especially maybe like the low A flat to A natural, getting these two fingers to move really precisely together is really good for that. Then you can do different rhythms to give you bigger chunks. So maybe if you do eighth notes, it'd be 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and, or triplets, triplet, 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 triplet. So you get these different size chunks by practicing these different subdivisions of the beat. And basically what you're doing is going up for a beat and then down for a beat. And however much you subdivide that beat determines how far up you go and how far back down you end up going. So let me demonstrate how this would sound. So I'll just start on the low E as a sort of demonstration for this. But again, you can start wherever in the range of the instrument that might be a little bit tricky for you. So down here on the low E, I'll start with quarter notes. So it'll just be one note up and one note back down. Then eighth notes, 2 notes up and 2 notes back down, and so forth, with smaller and smaller subdivisions, getting us further up and further back down. that, I went from starting with quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes, quintuplets, and then sextuplets, septuplets, sevens, and all the way up to 32nd notes. So that gives you adding one note each time. One quick little like bonus tip for counting like fives and sevens, because they're odd numbers of division, so you can't just do like one-e and a, or triplet, how I do sextuplets. But fives and sevens, the best way to do it is to think of a 5-syllable and a 7-syllable like word or phrase. So the most popular for fives are university or hippopotamus. And then for sevens, there aren't really that many super popular ones. Some people group it as like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But I still like doing the 7 syllables. What I personally do actually is clarinet symposium, which isn't particularly exciting, but it's kind of funny. Another funny one that I've heard is, this is very difficult. This is very difficult. This is very difficult. But that might be a little self-defeating, because if you're thinking that while you're playing, then things might feel more difficult. So I like clarinet symposium, but any other 7-syllable word or phrase works for dividing that, or doing the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this chromatic chunks exercise is super beneficial for getting these tricky bits down, especially if you go all the way from like quarter note subdivisions all the way up to 32nd note subdivisions, adding one note each time. Because by the end of that, I practiced this motion probably like 100 times almost in just that short bit of exercise. And then adding on more from that adds a little bit of challenge, but makes it so that you still have to be confident and comfortable and in control. That's the other thing I want to point out with this. You notice that I repeated each one several times. I didn't just go and just add one every time and just gradually speed up and go crazy, because the practicing of the technique is all about being confident and comfortable and in control. So if I was to just speed up and feel out of control and just get faster and faster and faster, then it wouldn't be building in the good muscle memory for this really good controlled technique. So make sure that you're repeating it lots so that it's feeling really comfortable. And even if you're maybe getting a good even rhythm and getting a good connection between the notes, if you aren't super relaxed with your fingers and you feel like maybe you have too much finger motion or things are moving too much or not in a relaxed and precise way, then just keep repeating it so that you build into your muscle memory and you get that really strong foundation of super relaxed, super precise finger motion throughout all of these chromatic scale notes. And again, you can practice, you don't have to do this just on like the low notes. You could do it on the higher pinky keys, or you could do it on the throat tones, or you could do it on literally any area of the chromatic scale, and it'll be really beneficial for you to sort of find those tricky bits, isolate them and improve them, and then make sure that you're able to play through the whole chromatic scale smoothly and effortlessly. So I want you to try this chromatic chunks exercise. Pick whatever your trickiest bit in the chromatic scale is and really just dive into it to get comfortable with doing those little different subdivisions and really building that and like nailing that into your muscle memory. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that over the week of practicing this, that you get more confident and comfortable with it. And I encourage you to go to quickstartclarinet.com/join to become an official member of the Quick Start Clarinet community if you haven't yet, because there I have even more tips and tricks and fun stuff for you to work on to improve your clarinet playing and have a great time on your clarinet journey. Thanks so much for watching this live or watching the replay if you catch the replay of it. And remember, you can always comment any questions that you have, and I will be sure to answer those. Have a good week of practicing. Enjoy the chromatic scale chunks and get super good at all of the notes on the clarinet by practicing your chromatic scale every day in all of these fun, different ways.